Mental health advocate Jennifer McCready lost both her parents within a few months of each other, and she's on the show today to talk about coping with grief. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for coming on the show today. You and I have known each other for probably a decade.
Yeah.
Um, and we met at an event that was a mental health panel discussion at a women's conference. And then we've just stayed friends after that, because we share a common interest in mental health. And
Boy, do we ever.
yeah, but you've gone through some really difficult times over the last couple of years, and not only have you lived with depression, which is sort of an on and off thing for you, and to different degrees of severity. Sometimes it's you're coping, and sometimes it's hard. But a couple of years ago, so 2 years ago in October, you lost both your parents. And I wanted to talk to you about grief and what that was like, because that's a pretty extraordinary situation. So can you just tell me what happened?
Yeah, for sure. So I believe everything happens for a reason. And because I'm a spiritual being, and now that I've had time to sit with it, I kind of see the light. And so my dad passed away in October, 2024, if I'm right, 23. And 2 months later, my mom passed away as well. And it it for the first time since COVID, I took time off um to digest it, per se, I guess you could say. And then probably about 4 or 5 months later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And being the human that I am, I try to find reasons for everything and try to find lessons in everything and try to be grateful for everything because this is how I survive my mental health struggles. So yeah, that's what happened.
Uh, a lot of people, obviously, a lot of people lose a parent or both. I mean, both of my parents have died, and but I'm significantly older than you are, I hate to say. Um, and so in kind of in my life, it's not that unexpected. But for you, did you know? I mean, was your dad ill? Did you have any preparation time to I mean, with my father, I was able to grieve in advance because I had several months with him once he had his cancer diagnosis. So I could digest it, and I could kind of do a bit of grieving in advance because I knew it was
Right.
going to happen.
You know, ever since I was a teenager, one of the things that I always thought was like the number one worst thing that could happen would be losing my parents. And it is, it's awful. And my dad had, by the time he passed away, he had about 5 heart attacks. He had
Wow.
one just after like my mom and him, he's my stepdad, my mom and him reconnected when I was 16. And just after that, he had a heart attack again. And he had already had one or two before my mom and dad got together. Then he had a triple bypass. And then he just kept going with life. His heart just was not, I just don't think it was a mixture of his heart just wasn't strong, but also it, it's hard to start talking about it because of the big things around it. But it's like, we're learning now with movement or a lack of movement, but when you're in pain and you can't move, what do you do, right? So it's all about like, anyway, he was a retired fireman from St. Catharines. And so his heart just kept doing its thing. We would go years without it. I did a photo shoot once and I got the phone call from my mom that he had another one and that he was in ICU, and he just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And I'll be honest with you, now that I'm on this side of the grief, because we all know grief is not linear and we roll through different phases. And now I'm on the phase where I'm actually very much at peace because that I know he was in pain and he wasn't able to be himself. And to be the one thing that really hit me really deep was my dad never talked about mental health. He never talked about the PTSD that we know he's dealing with because he was a fireman. The things that he saw, and he was 83 when he passed away, and they didn't talk about that stuff back then. I mean, this is a whole nother subject, and he just held on to it, and his body was just done as far as we're talking about physical stuff. But he had mentioned to me probably about 3 years before he passed that he was struggling. And so it's a combination of everything, right? And so when he passed, it was at home at my parents' house. And then I just feel, my mom, they found a tumor in her colon, and I rushed her to the hospital. It was probably about 3 weeks after he passed. And she went for an ultrasound, found the tumor. She had COPD. So we knew that it was going to be a tricky thing for the surgery because we didn't know how it was all going to roll out because of her lungs. She went in for the surgery and then she stayed in the hospital and slowly just declined from there. But I think it was a mixture of, I think she was ready. And she always said that she would pass away the same age as my grandma, which was 84. And my mom was 84. So, and what
It's sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what I want to say to anybody listening that's grieving something, someone, just know that your feelings are valid. You're allowed to feel whatever the heck it is, even if you think other people don't understand. Find people that understand, find people that have lost their parents as well, because it's a whole other level of struggle. And if you find the people that can understand the depth of what you're going through and what you're struggling with and what you're handling every day, then it is a game changer for sure.
Well, it's interesting because your parents were older. I don't believe it makes any difference. I really don't. I don't believe that loss is loss.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really, I mean, obviously if you're quite young and losing a parent, that's a big struggle and it's an uphill battle because you have to go through periods in your life where you're learning new things and you're doing things where you just want to turn to your mom or you just want to turn to your dad for support. That being said, losing a parent is losing a parent in or another family member. I'm both, my mom died, my brother died almost 10 years ago, and losing my brother was horrible for me. I didn't see him that much. He had a family and I had my thing, but I don't think I'll ever get totally over losing the people in my family who have died. And you are a tremendous mental health advocate, and you really put your when we had our event that we were at, you had never spoken publicly about your depression. And since
No.
then, you have been a very strong advocate for mental health. And do you think that's why your dad felt that he could turn to you finally? Because as a firefighter, I've never talked to a firefighter who did not struggle with a pretty severe level of PTSD. And
Yeah.
it's not something firefighters were taught to talk about.
No. And men.
And men,
But
and
that's
yes,
them,
yes.
right?
Why
Now
do you
they're
think your
doing
dad? Why do
different.
you think your dad talked to you about that before he died?
So when you first asked me the question, I started processing it in my head because I'm like, do I be honest? I'm always honest,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to respect my dad. My parents didn't see me. They saw me, but they don't think they ever, now they do. They never really identified with what my mission was in life. And when he told me how he was feeling, I've always been a mental health advocate. It was like before I was like, 98% of my business and my life dedicated to it. I don't know why he told me then. I'm grateful because, oh my goodness, it hurt my heart. I don't know why he did. I'm just really glad he did, because I would have never thought. This is a man who had a heart attack, and he wouldn't let them put him on a stretcher. He had to walk onto the ambulance because he was taught at his young age and through his life, he was adopted, that you don't show your emotions. You don't crack. My dad would always be all soft and gooey when it was just him and I. He, oh my gosh. Oh, the times that we had together. But he never cracked. And I'm so grateful now that all these firemen are getting the proper, well, at least I hope they are, and that's something that I need to look into more, but that they're getting the help that my dad should have had. And it just my parents saw me and they loved me, but they were from a different time, right? I don't The way I've been looking at things is our parents have their trauma from their past with their parents and their experiences. And I think a lot of the younger generation of parents are starting to finally realize that they need to deal with their trauma instead of carrying it through and bringing it to the rest of the family and keeping that chain going. And that's where I've decided that I'm breaking that and teaching other people to break that chain and to start dealing with their trauma in a way that's, comfortable for them, of course. It's not comfortable at all, but you have to.
Yes, and you're right, because trauma does really hold people back, and trauma can be generational, right? Because a trauma that a person has, a mom or a dad or brother, sister, or friend, that can, usually it's a parent, but that can translate into the children's lives
My goodness.
and learned experience. And we know that from Indigenous people, and we know that from I've interviewed some people who were at a residential school. What they learned at that school and that trauma, they didn't know any different, right? So that trauma perpetuates, and it's the same with anybody who can go through trauma. They often don't know. They don't say, "Well, that can't be trauma. I should be fine. That's not a big deal." But trauma is at so many different levels.
Oh, yes.
Losing your parents was traumatic enough, but breast cancer I think, also causes grief. There's so many emotions that go into it. And again, I'm just basing it on people I've spoken to, because I haven't gone through this. But to then have that kind of grief, what was that the potential of losing the life as you know it? Like, even if, would you be able to go forward from there, or was it a, major life-changing experience for you?
It was major life changing in the sense that it made me wake the heck up. And because of the brain I have, thank goodness, I've worked very hard to get my brain the way it is now, with mindfulness and law of attraction and all that, and dealing with my traumas is I I always okay, so I had met many women in with Lady Luck doing photography, photo shoots with many women who've had their breasts. They've had double mastectomies and single mastectomies, or had just massive. Lots and lots of beautiful women have shared stories with me, and I'm so grateful for that. So I was kind of prepared in a way to kind of understand what was going to happen. A good friend of mine was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 years before I had mine. And I always said that if I see these women and they're dealing with it and they're doing great and they're living their everyday life. And I'm thinking, how on earth can you go to work every day knowing that you don't know what's going to happen? And I just thought that was like just crazy because I wouldn't be able to do that. I would just curl up in a ball in my bed and wait for all the appointments to come. But I didn't. I didn't. I don't even know. I don't even know how I did it. I just did it. And I just kept my my brain in check with my mindfulness and just knew that everything was going to happen the way it was supposed to. And as we went along the journey, I am very grateful that it ended up how it did. They found it in my left breast, right close to my nipple, and it depends on how you look at it. One day I might be like, look in the mirror and realize that I don't have a nipple on, like half my left breast is gone, and it might one day take me back. And the other day I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. I can go and spread the word that I want to spread and help all the people I want to help. And I'm going to take all the lessons from all of this stuff, my mom, my dad, the breast cancer, everything. I'm going to take everything that I can and help others with it and fuel my fire with it. And now, mind you, I did take time to take care of myself. Like I did. I really did. 2 years felt like maybe a year for me, but I listened to my body and I listened to my brain, and I knew when it was time for me to take time off and to just focus and on my healing, which I hadn't done for a long time. Running a business, it's wonderful and I'm so grateful for it, but you're being pulled in so many directions. And I'm so proud of myself for taking the time off, even though it was scary. And I could, because thankfully I had some money from my parents, right? But not everybody, not everybody's breast cancer journey is the same as mine. And that's why part of what I want to do going forward is some kind of awareness project or something. I want to help others who are in the process of it as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about moving forward, because you have a very active brain and you've got a swirl of things happening in there, but you just qualified and I honestly, I apologize, but I don't remember what it was that you just qualified for, but it involves mental health. And you tell me what it is.
So I am so grateful for my photography career, 14 years. Over the 2 years, have decided where I want to go with my life. And when I sit and think of the heart of what I wanted with Lady Luck Photography Studio, it was to help others love themselves more and to know that they're not alone. That's just like the tip of the iceberg on what my brain's just not. I also was just diagnosed with ADHD at 52 years old. And so going forward, I'm not 100% crystal clear on what I'm doing as far as my photography goes, but I am now in school to be a lifestyle and wellness coach with a focus of mental health and grieving. So by next year, I'll be able to be a coach. And one of the things I don't think a lot of people know about coaching is it's actually helping your client help themselves. You're not giving them advice. You're not telling them how to fix themselves. You're helping them fix themselves, which is what I did. I don't know how, but I did. So that's where I'm the coaching. I'm also I haven't told anybody, but I'm going in the spring to be trained for a yoga teacher training so I can go even deeper with my spirituality and be able to carry that over to others who need it. Um, I have a big project that I'm working on that I'm not quite ready to release yet,
Okay, we'll have to
but
talk again about that.
yes, it's big and it is 100% focused on mental health. Mental health is my number one. When I decided not to go back to Lady Luck, I just knew I wanted to take the heart of Lady Luck with me, no matter what. I haven't really decided. I have a couple things that I'm working on, but I'm letting the universe tell me what to do. But
It, ma-
regardless,
it makes
so,
sense because Lady Luck was about empowering. It was about
yeah,
empowerment, and as you said, it focused on women and empowering women through photography and through images. So it wasn't just somebody sitting there and looking into a camera. Again,
no.
but so you're taking that attitude that you already had brought to Lady Luck for more than a decade and putting it into a new place where you hope to empower people. And we will definitely have to talk again. While I know that you and I are going to talk about this as an aside anyway, but you'll have to talk. We'll talk again when you get your big idea. For those of you who don't know Jennifer, she's big on big ideas.
So many.
I really admire the work you're doing personally with mindfulness and things like yoga. And I am so resistant to doing that. And I'm told frequently that yoga would help me so much. But that being said, I'm potentially willing to come to your yoga class when you get it all qualified and give it a try. No guarantees.
You
Jen,
know, sorry, go ahead.
no, you go.
I was just gonna say, so that's the one thing that I've been made aware in regards to yoga. So there's many different types of yoga and different ways to look at yoga. I just found the most magical human being that I connected with who teaches yoga at the level that I want to learn. And it's more about the mind than the body.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so anything I'm learning going forward is things I want to put in what I call my mental health toolbox. I want to be able to help people with different avenues that aren't always out there in our faces for when we need some help when it comes to mental health. And my biggest thing is nature. I have moved closer to the lake and I have big plans for this summer and every summer going forward to create something that has never been created, at least around here, that will provide people with other avenues of healing that'll go right in hand with psychotherapists, psychologists, therapists, all the other like more, clinical type of mental health healing. I'm going to be working in conjunction with that. And that's where the excitement is with what I'm building. I am It's my big thing that I'm working on. And before I used to just like spit everything out that I was doing before I had everything polished and perfected because I'm a very passionate person. But I am building this right now. I did my business plan. I'm working on funding and all that. So, and it will bring in everything that I've done already. It'll bring in my photography. It'll bring in the four new things that I'm working on that all go hand in hand to build a mental health toolbox and a mental health haven, I guess you could say, sanctuary.
We will definitely talk again when you get everything in place and you're ready to go. So, Jennifer, thank you.
Thank
And we will
you.
talk again soon. You can listen to all episodes of Life Unscripted, Stories of Mental Health and Addiction on your favorite podcast app or on my website at lifeunscripted.ca.